So I just pulled up the accounting firm salary Google sheet that Big Four Transparency put together. It's based off of their form that you can go on their website and input in. And it's really good for just like trying to figure out if you want to go to a certain company, what that's going to look like for you way before you start interviewing and stuff. So I kind of was thinking we'd just kind of do like a role play kind of, maybe I'm looking for give me a city, Parker. Where should I try to work?
Do Tampa, Florida. I don't know.
Okay.
That's a bit risky.
Yeah, I don't know how many
you a Bucks fan,
there's
Parker?
going to be. Okay, there's
no.
Okay, I go
there's
to
a couple.
Yeah. Let's see how many there are. 150. Okay,
Sweet.
Now you're in tax, so let's do tax. So we went from 150 in Tampa to 41 in tax. We've got a variety of certifications and stuff. We can sort it by how big the salaries are. So the person making the most here is a private accountant. He's making 150 and got a 30,000 bonus. He's living large. But let's say I want to do years of experience. Sorry, I'll keep this a little shorter. Let's do under 3 years, 3 years and under. Okay, so it's varying. The people with 1 year making between 52 and 60. If I've got 2 years, let's do sort it on this. If I've got 2, it gets up into the 75s region. Yeah, somewhere around there. So you kind of have a good, and then you can kind of start picking out companies. Like I can know if I want to work for PwC, or looks like Baker Tilly's paying pretty good on here. Anyways.
Private equity money, baby.
Yeah. Anyways, that's our shout out for Big Four Transparency. It's really good to look up, to slice on your specific things. If you're CPA, if you're an EA like Parker, like go see what EAs are making nowadays. See if it's worth it. So.
And even for that next promotion, being able to look in and be prepared, and coming into that interview and saying, hey, this is what everybody else in the country is making it at my certification level, my years of experience. What do I need to do to get that next big salary bump? And you can leverage this data to really make that happen. And that's the whole purpose of Big Four Transparency. Yuri, we've been looking forward to this one for a while. Super excited, everyone, to introduce Yuri Kapilovich, the Fun CPA. You got it trademarked yet?
It's in process. It's in process. We're battling with the office, the patent office, but I won't dive into that because But yes, I'm trying to get it patent.
So we got a really interesting conversation here today. Excited to be joined again by my co-host Caden Cook and Yuri. What's going on, man? I see you making some people mad on LinkedIn. Posting all your accounting party content, which we all love.
I appreciate that.
How's summer been? You been to any conferences this summer?
I have. Actually, I finally got to go on my first conference in May. That was in San Diego. That literally flew in for 36 hours and went back and did a panel on tax credits, which was awesome. Shout out JP, by the way, who again, through LinkedIn, we're talking about LinkedIn, man. The opportunities from there have literally changed my life, which is wild. So I got that from there. And then I got to go a few weeks after that. I got to go to Maryland with the Maryland Society of Accounting and Tax Professionals and do a keynote speech there and a breakout session on the future of accounting, which was awesome. So those are kind of like the two things. Then when I came back from there, I went to Mexico with my family. Then I came back from there and went to Puerto Rico. So it's been a wild summer of travel, but conference-wise, it was really cool to go to some of those, when people recognize you, and it's crazy, man. It's wild to even imagine what LinkedIn will do when you put the work in and grind. And it is a grind. Yeah, sure. Maybe famous, but I doubt I'll go that far, man. It's social media fame is
yeah. At least wait for the trademark, right?
Yeah, it is. It's I mean, listen, the trademark, I don't even know. It's like, it's weird. Like the Fun CPA, what am I going to do? Like if somebody else posts on it, I'll be like, hey, can't use that. You know what I mean? But as long as you get permission and all that, it'll be cool, because I think the concept is there. I think there's a lot, and I often get like the question of what is the Fun CPA, and like, and there's a lot of confusion. And when I see confusion, and when I see like, whoa, I realize I'm onto something, and that's my thing, and that's how I've kind of rolled with a lot of the social media content. Nothing was planned. I'm just like, oh, hey, this is catching on. Let's keep going in that way.
And I feel like it's more about the idea too of, it's changing the idea of the profession. It's just
Yeah.
making sure people know that providing a platform where people can express themselves that way as fun.
Yeah, 100%. LinkedIn, is it started just regular posting, regular whatever, like, trying to help out people in the profession, and it converted to and became, where I built my brand, where, I interact, and as long as you focus on the important part, which is having meaningful relationships, being authentic, and being a true self, then social media takes on a little bit of a different persona, if you will. It doesn't become this horribly toxic place. It just takes up a lot of time, but it's genuine. And I think that's what catches on.
But most people don't see it that way, right?
No.
Like students especially, are not thinking about LinkedIn in the way that we all are, right? Especially you.
Yeah.
Take you for example, going out meeting people. I mean, I think you messaged me maybe 4 or 5 months ago and was just like, hey, what's up, man? I like what you're doing. What's going on? Like, students, I think because it's been ingrained, Charlotte, since it's been ingrained to them early on that it's just like a follower network, they don't get that they can add to the conversation and be a part of it.
Yeah. You can add to the conversation. You can be a part of it. And you shouldn't be afraid as a student, if we're talking about, students and all that. And I think that we should really, we were chatting before, we should really focus on the students, focus on the first year staff and such, and, in here to give the value. But if you're a student, don't be afraid, to pick up that DM, be genuine and reach out to somebody who's been posting a lot, and is active on LinkedIn, and just being like, hey man, would you mind just, taking some time and then chatting with me and helping me out? You'll get some no's, but listen, eventually you're going to get a yes. And when you do, you're going to get some value. And I think that that's what's missing, people not seeing the opportunity that's out there, to really network authentically. And I think the other reason why people a lot of times don't do it on LinkedIn, is when you see a lot of the posts, a lot of the folks on there are not authentic, out there. When you're just scrolling through the, feeds, not authentic, and you get overwhelmed and you're like, oh man, you get the FOMO and all that. And that's, so we're going to try to avoid that and try to find the real folks on there.
We gotta stop being lurkers and we gotta be involved, right? If that's one thing you start doing today, if you're a student who's been lurking, just start commenting on people's posts. It makes all the difference.
Yeah, 100%. Add some value. You have a value to add. The value is, and Chayton, you're doing a phenomenal job of bringing attention, bringing on, the authentic people of LinkedIn onto your podcast to talk about the profession and to ask them and to have those conversations about the things that everybody wants to know as they're lurking around and don't want to ask. School tells us, go to the Big Four, get your, do your thing there, do well in Big Four, and that's where you got to go. But that's not really the answer. You can go in so many directions.
Yeah, and we kind of want to focus on that today. If we can start talking about that a little bit. I know everybody's got to go from, the staff to senior. They've got to kind of do the progression, and then you've jumped off and kind of started your own thing. But let's talk a little bit about what's your journey been like. What can you tell our students and staff how you've gotten to where you're at?
Yeah. So for me, my journey, across the 7 firms that I've been at, during my career, ranging from EY down to a small 100-person, more local firm, trying to find the perfect place, to be a partner, to do the thing that everybody expects you to do in the profession. My experience has been my real first job, I would say, was at EY, but in Miami. And when I was in Miami, that experience was just completely different from the Northeast for many reasons, but primarily, the people and the culture was, a lot more fun. And maybe that's where probably that the Fun CPA, really kind of originated, because it was along the tunes of what I kind of was looking for. We worked hard, but we also had fun. The people there were always willing to help. They were always willing to, take the time to teach, to do all that. And that part of it is missing in some geographical regions of the US. Northeast is known to be pretty brutal. A lot of the conversations there are like, you go figure it out. Why don't you just spend some time and you do it, then come back to me if you have more questions. Whereas in Florida and in the Southeast, I felt that people were like, hey, are you doing all right? Like, let me help you out. That was a huge pivotal part for me in my first 4 years at EY Miami that helped me tremendously.
Well, and
Yeah, I like that.
Oh, sorry, Caden. I was just going to ask, could you touch on that a little bit of how important that is for young professionals to get to a place, get to a firm? It might be Big Four, it might not, depending on where you're at, but a place where you're not just going to be a cog in someone else's machine, but they're going to be developing you into a leader, right? Because
Yeah.
I think that's another problem of why we're losing so many professionals out of public accounting is they come in and they feel like they're just a number on a sheet, right? They do not matter.
Yeah. I think what is really important, and it's so hard to say where to go to get the experience, the ideal experience, because it all depends. 100% depends on the people that are directly above you and how miserable or not miserable they are. So it's a big factor, right? You have the firm as a whole, the larger firms, the bigger firms tend to have a little bit more pressure, a little bit more stress. So then the stress rolls downhill. I won't say, the S word, but that's what really rolls downhill. And then you have a choice at those levels above staff. You stop it from keeping rolling downhill, you take it, and then you let your staff have a good experience, or you keep rolling it downhill and beat up your staff and make them feel terrible. Those are the options. So the reality of it is you can be at EY, that's supposedly known to be a, terrible place and have a hard culture, but be at a team like I was in Miami that was incredibly helpful, incredibly knowledgeable and wanting to help and not not gatekeeping all the information. I was also fortunate in that I was able to literally just ask for an experience at EY and get it. So that part of it is huge too. EY had and probably still has this thing called DSG, which is Diversified Staff Group. Chayton, you probably know, given that you were like in the midst of it. But they had this thing called the DSG, which basically was you had to rotate through a few different types of tax or whatever it is before you get to major or like pick your specialty. And I think that was huge for me, to be able to get whatever experience I wanted in those pivotal years, and then decide what I want to do.
Yeah, I'm pretty passionate about that too, just because I actually was thinking about this just before as I was kind of reflecting upon my experiences that I felt like I was at the first firm I was at. There was an experience I had where I felt like I was pushed too fast into you have to pick what you're going to do right now and you can't explore because what I did is I had a partner tell me, oh, there's this new division opening up, I think you should take it. I was actually already where I thought I wanted to be, but because of this partner asking me, I ended up moving over. And then eventually down the road, this division wasn't doing super great. They were kind of changing how it was working. And I was like, hey, can I come back and do what I thought I already wanted to do. And
Yeah.
they said, nope,
Wow.
can't do that. And so that led to me ultimately changing jobs. But I just think that, like, me being, you know, a couple years out of college or whatever, like, I need those extra experiences, but I can't be like I can't be making like a decision for the next 30 years of my life, right? Based off of a couple months of experience.
Yeah. I think that part of it, so to also go back, when a student is trying to pick a firm to go to, I always say, look, you're never going to right off the bat somehow be able to differentiate firms. You're just not. You're not going to be able to sit there in an interview and be able to tell what firm is going to be better for you 30 years from now. You're simply not. And I always say any experience is good experience as long as you're ready to, well, one, you know, you're going to see how the firm is, you're going to see how you enjoy it, or if you don't. And two, you got to be ready to move. And I think that that's the big thing nowadays in staff, unlike back in my day, you know, or prior to my day, where, you know, once you got it to a firm, you were just like, I'm staying here, and that's where I'm going to be at for my career. Nowadays, if somebody doesn't like something, they leave, just like you did, Caden, and many others. So any experience is good experience. If you get into the big firms, get into the big firms. It's only going to be good for you, you know, at least from an experience standpoint. And if it's not a good experience, then go down a notch or two and go to the top 25 and try that and keep trying. There's no harm in that, in my opinion, because the key is to get that experience that you're going to enjoy, you're going to learn from, with a good team.
So for you, was it kind of hard? Was it hard at all, or was there a big learning curve going from firm to firm? I don't know, different software, different culture. Was it worth it? Because did you see, you know, when you go from job to job, did you also see a big pay spike more than you would have? How was that?
Yeah, so I mean, certainly from a pay perspective, it wasn't why I was making the jumps. The jumps were typically because I wasn't getting the experience that I wanted, and I already knew exactly what I wanted to do. So for me, it was like, I know what I want to do. If I'm not getting that experience, I'm out fairly quickly. But to you know, obviously I got a pay bump with it, because every time you do jump, you know, they tend to give you at least a 20 to 40% increase in pay, which was certainly nice. But again, that not the goal. For me, it was all about the experience. For me, it was all about the learning and making sure that I had the work that I wanted to do. That was the most important part to me.
Yeah. But no like hitting any culture shock or learning curves on,
to be
once you
perfectly
learn
honest,
one software, it works out, you can figure it out.
Yeah. To be perfectly honest, every firm was the same, man. No matter what they said at the interview, no matter what they said on social media, no matter how it looked from the outside, it will be the same experience every single time. Because again, it all depends on the team and on the people. And it's like, there may be at some of the better firms, the ones that are more, you know, the better culture firms and all that stuff, they might have a one or two or three people that are great to work with, and like two or three that are terrible to work with. And I'd for some reason get stuck with the terrible people to work with, you know, and then I'm like, it was not an enjoyable experience for me, so I'm out. But and sometimes when you're a new guy, FNG as they call it, when you're a new guy, you end up going to the people that nobody else wants to work with, by sheer fact that you're the new guy.
And that's where the openings are, because people just left because of the same reason.
That is exactly it. And so to me, as if I was to give some advice, and I know I really want to kind of hone down on that too specifically, if I was to give some advice to a staff person, to a person just starting out, it would always, my advice to someone brand new is always be a sponge. Soak in the information. Yes, it might be a lot of work. Yes, there's a lot of stuff to digest, and so much complexity and so many people to navigate and somehow manage your schedule. Be a sponge, learn as much as possible, ask questions. Don't be afraid. If the response to those questions, when you ask them, if the person above you is like, like looking frustrated, Try to find somebody else. Try to find that mentor that will answer your questions and seems to be somewhat happy assisting and helping others. I will say it's not easy to find in our profession, but it's out there. And I think it's very important to find those people. That's one. And two, you're going to make mistakes. It's going to be all right. Just roll through those mistakes. When you get the evaluations and all that, don't be bummed out by them. Try your best to just learn from them and move on. That's probably the biggest tips I would have for somebody at the staff.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. So as I think about what questions I would want to ask you, right, is you are a small firm owner. I mean, the majority of people getting into accounting, if they don't have the goal of being some kind of firm owner, if they're going to stay in public accounting, then, I mean, most of us want to get to that level, either a partner at a firm that exists or start our own thing. If I'm a staff or senior, what should I be focusing on now so that when I'm an owner, I'm successful or I can go start my own thing?
So I'm going to answer that one in a way you're probably not going to expect, but I'm going to say that if you are a staff or a senior person, do not focus on being an owner. And I'm going to pause there for a second because the reason for that is at that level, it might be a goal down the line, maybe, but your path may change. My path has changed. If you asked me as a staff if I was going to have my own firm, I'd probably tell you no, because that's not what I thought. Focus on where you're at now. At the whatever firm it is. Are you happy there? Are you getting the experience you want? If you're too far ahead of yourself, you're not going to get that technical knowledge. You're not going to get those small people skills and all those things. In my 12 years of being at the big firms, even though I jumped the firms, I learned so much about how these different firms operated and what I liked and what I didn't like, that I was able to carry over into my current firm. On top of that, I made connections with people who are absolutely just so good as a resource in real estate stuff, specifically in international stuff, in state and local stuff. So now, even though I know the information myself because of the 12 years that I've learned it over again and again, if I ever run into an issue I'm not so familiar with, I now have a resource that I could reach out to. So those are the things I would say. But the main focus I would tell a staff or a senior or whatever it is wherever you are now, whatever the firm is, think about it. Are you happy there? Are you enjoying your experience? Are you learning? If you're learning, keep going there. If you want to try something different, ask for that. If you're not getting the experience that you want, then you may want to consider another firm. But eventually, the more you tone into your people and your tax skills or audit or whatever it is you're doing, the entrepreneurship, the ability to start the firm will only grow. So, to try to think of anything that I would do, or I would have done as a staff to better prepare me for firm ownership, I couldn't tell you. I mean, my experience was great overall, even though I was not happy in many firms. I've learned so much that for the most part, I don't need much tax knowledge help.
Okay, so technical knowledge kind of just comes as long as you. So I would the takeaway for me would be just like you're saying before, be a sponge and make sure that your learning doesn't stagnate.
Yes.
And you don't just get kind of complacent where you're at, just doing the grind. Okay.
And one of the things that I would also really highlight, because at the staff level, one of the biggest challenges too is managing your workload. Because the downsides of public accounting, a lot of times people say to you, "Oh, how's your boss?" I don't know, dude. I got like 6 bosses. I got managers, I got partners, I got this, I got that, and I got to manage them all. A lot of times the schedulers themselves, if there even is one, is not great at their job, right? And they kind of just let it be. So one of the biggest things that's important to managing your own schedule, because let's be frank, as a staff, you can't really say no to work, right? But what you want to learn to do is look at your schedule, be proactive about figuring out what your next week is going to look like sooner rather than later, and getting ahead of saying, hey, look, I don't want to say no to this, but right now I'm projecting my week is going to be 65 hours. I cannot take on another 10-hour project. which inevitably is going to be 25 hours and not 10, because we all know how this works. So the key is over communicating. There is no such thing as over communicating. You want to over communicate because you want to say as much as possible, hey, here's my schedule for the coming week. Look, I'm at 65 hours. If you think that, I can take on another 10, okay, but I'm just going to let you know, like, I'm at, it's already at capacity here for me. So leave it at that. Over communicating is very important because that's how you're going to get to at least manage your schedule as best as you can to your ability as a staff.
Well, and I feel like maybe your managers, I've had that experience where your managers don't know your workload. They're busy. They don't have time to look at your schedule. So if you have 4 other managers pushing tasks down on you and you just say, and I think that's where the mentor helps too, where you can go ask for some help, like help me figure out how I'm going to get all this work done, like at least once or twice. They're busy too, but yeah.
And as you grow up the ranks, my job as a manager, when I was a manager at the bigger firms, was equally as much reviewing the information, reviewing the tax returns, giving comments, and growing the staff and teaching them. That was as much my job as managing their workload too. So to your point, as a manager, I have 2 options. I can either go in and I could say, all right, staff person, here's a pile of returns. Get them done next week and walk away. Or you could do what I did as a manager and say, hey, man, listen, I got a couple returns. I know you were assigned them. Come into my office real quick. They come into my office and I would say, all right, what you got going on? Tell me honestly. I don't care. You don't have to, you don't have to color this pretty. Just tell me what you got. All right, hey, man, I got like 3 returns right now. Each of them is 20 hours long. They will tell me that. And say, you know what, look, we got to take care of these 2 returns, but what I'll do is I'll buy you time. What about, can you do it late next week? It's Wednesday today, let's say. Late next week, can you get it done on like a Friday or a Thursday? Yeah, I think I should be able to get everything else done by then. I'll make sure to get to it by Thursday. And I'll say, let me know if you're not going to hit that. My job as a manager, and if any managers are listening, your job is to manage expectations in many directions. It's probably the hardest job to have in public accounting because you got the pressure of the staff going like this to give you the work. You have the pressure of the clients over here. I mean, the partners over here telling you to get the work done. And you have the pressure of the clients pushing towards you because you're managing their expectations. So managing everybody's expectation is the hardest part, but that's how you do it. So to me, what would happen to me is when I had that conversation with the staff, they would tell me, hey, I'm going to get to it Thursday or Friday next week. I would go to the partner or the client, whichever one I had to talk to, and I would say, listen, that client, I'm going to be done with the following Thursday. So not next week Thursday when I just told that staff that they told me that they could just get to it then. No, the following Thursday, so I have time to review it. And I'm building a buffer for myself in case the staff can't get to it. That's how you manage expectation. And I'll tell you right now, I got wrecked doing that. Like the partner will be like, what do you mean? That's a ridiculous amount of time. We can't do that. I'm sorry. That's when it's going to get done.
So managing all that, is the pipeline issue just going to make that harder and harder for the big firms then? Because you have less and less people. I mean, you look at it this way right now, the more people that leave public accounting, the more hours that the work-life balance is just going to get worse for the people who stay in.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, I think that obviously we have outsourcing, right? Outsourcing has become huge. I was on the initial teams that started outsourcing back in like 2013, 2014, when it started becoming a thing. And it has grown tremendously since then. It does not replace a U.S. staff, but it helps. I mean, I guess it helps with the pipeline issues, right? A lot of firms have developed their own, outsourcing. India teams, South Africa, Argentina, Philippines. All these places have become, hubs, and firms have created their own, their own teams over there and built them up as if they're staff. So I think that helps as well. But at the same time, the ability to really come down and check and talk to the staff and help them in person is pretty much gone, is going to be gone, the more of the pipeline this issue is going to be. It's going to be really interesting in the next 2 to 3 years, because it may be like a rolling ball effect where the more people leave, so you're going to have more hours to fill. Those that are left are going to be working even more. And
then
they
more
might
people
leave.
are going to leave.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. That's for sure.
It's a house of cards.
It is. But I hope that the fix, at least in my mind, the fix to it has to start right now. And the fix is a couple things. One, raise those starting salaries, just like you said in your post the other day. Raise those starting salaries to make it more attractive to go into accounting. Start focusing on the people. The biggest issue that I found across all the firms I've been at, and now I'm hearing it left and right of people in my DMs, people complaining about the profession, doing all that. The focus on staff first is gone. I mean, it's very rare to find as is in the profession. Only certain firms do it. Only certain people do it. But the focus on staff is more or less gone, and I think that's the biggest problem, because you cannot put your clients ahead of your staff. Your staff are first. You got to teach them, grow them, mold them, and have them in the front of your mind if you want to have a successful firm. And the moment firms start thinking about that is where, the reputation will become less toxic, less horrible. All these stories you read is not because people are talking about how many hours they work necessarily, as much as how much of a horrible culture it is.
Well, and how they're being treated.
And how they're being treated, exactly. And to me, how you're being treated, when the stories that I've read and the stories that I've experienced myself, dude, that's not a way to treat anybody, let alone somebody who's producing for you and getting the work done and is the reason why you have clients. Like, your staff are the reason you have clients. Because if you didn't have any staff, you're not getting the work done of those clients. So a lot of people miss that.
Well, and I think it comes back to what you were kind of saying before about how you were as a manager. Like, if I have a manager like that and I tell that manager, I'm going to have this done on Thursday, and you cut me a bunch of slack, you help me out with my schedule, there's no way I'm going to miss that deadline. Like, I'm going to hit that deadline, because it's the ones that I don't communicate with, that I think just like see me as like some AI bot or something, that they just, it's just as the black box or something. Those are the ones that I'm like, okay, well, you weren't very considerate anyway, so let me just, yours is going to the bottom or something. So
yeah, I mean, it all comes down, it's interesting. It's such an interesting topic to talk about, right? I mean, now we have so much technology coming into the profession. A lot of the old school folks are like mind blown. We're all mind blown. I'm mind blown. I'm 36 years old, and I'm like, whoa, what is all this stuff? Like, it's overwhelming in a lot of senses. And people need to go back to we're still a people business. I don't care about all the, AI we have. I don't care about the outsourcing. I don't care that you're using somebody in India or wherever. We're still a people business, and it's people first. Take care of your people, treat them well, make sure that they're happy, they're getting the experience that you want. Does not take that long of a time to stop by at every staff and be like, how are you doing? But that does not exist. It doesn't. And so, like, to your point, your experience, or what you told me that you would do for me if that's how I talk to you as a manager, is how all my staff were. Because
pizza parties don't fix this stuff, right? Like, no. I don't know how many posts I just read just this morning of people that worked their freaking butts off.
Yeah.
For an 80-hour week, or to meet a deadline, or whatever, to add more money to the partner's pocket, because your salary, the more hours you work, you do not make more money. So you're adding money to the partner's pocket, and they buy you pizza or they buy you a meal, and that's supposed to compensate for all this work that you've done. It just and so that's where, this is where I came to a crossroads with this in my career, my career that hasn't started yet.
No, but this is good.
I was interning at a small firm where I'm still interning at.
Yeah.
Like, there's like 5 of us, right? The owner works one-on-one with me, mentoring me, showing me things. He's working on a return. He'll pull me onto a call and show me what he's doing.
Nice.
And then I went to a conference for a Big 4 firm and realized if I followed that path, I was just going to be a cog in someone else's machine. And
Yeah.
were the technical skills going to be grown there? Yes. Might it take me longer to get technically where I need to be a partner someday? Probably, by choosing to
Yeah.
go to a small firm.
Yeah.
But I would rather have that and be mentored daily by a partner than just to be a piece of paper on someone else's desk. And
Yeah.
where every hour I put into the business is going to be analyzed and is going to be talked about by this partner, instead of, hey, we're just going to give this guy a pizza party for all the work he did.
Yeah. Yeah. And the most interesting thing is that in your case is that you chose to stay smaller rather than do what the profession, the school, anybody that, is out there in the public accounting would probably tell you to do, which is go big, go to the big firm, go to the big firm.
People
Like,
think I'm crazy.
I know, but I see your point, and for you to do this, what you're doing now, is unique, and you would not be able to do it, that we talked about offline, if you were at a big firm. And this is huge. And you're having fulfillment of your day. You're enjoying what you're doing. You're learning from that partner, from that person, one-on-one. And that is invaluable. I mean, that is huge, And so I think that a lot of people are starting to have that kind of mentality. Again, I don't have anything against the big firms. I've benefited from them tremendously from an experience standpoint, and I've seen so much stuff there. But small firms, man, I mean, that to me, the next 2 to 3 years is where I see a lot of the disgruntled big firm staff.
Well, and we'll see what happens, right? Like, I'm going to be I'm the test run, right?
Yeah,
I
you are.
chose to not get the stamp of approval of the Big 4,
Yep.
and I chose to go a different route. How's that going to play out? I guess everybody's watching to see what's going to happen. But I think the bigger piece is the relationships I've been able to build, is regardless of what happens wherever I go.
Yeah.
The fact that I've built relationships is what's going to pay off in the long run of my career. And I think if students can do that and catch on to that early, it doesn't matter where you go, you're going to be successful, because you're going to have people mentoring you, helping you, coaching you.
Yep.
And if you lose your job or something goes wrong at a firm and you don't feel like you can be there anymore, you have a whole team of people that are like, hey, come join me over here. Hey, I got this over here. Hey, did you hear about this? And the opportunities in the profession are just there's so many right now that for the people who build relationships, it's just going to be never ending.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff to digest on that, but 100%. I think building meaningful relationships online, on LinkedIn specifically, in the accounting world and space, will do you so much better than any big firm experience of like working. So what you're doing by doing this, by adding value to students, by adding value across the profession and showing what it's like to be a student, and like you said, being in the public eye, so to speak, to see your journey of having said no to a big firm is awesome, in many ways. And then networking, and then having the ability to talk to people like Scotty, the people like all these people that you've spoken to. I mean, just really big names, and getting your name out there will only help you later down the line. If you ever did need a new job, you just hit them up and you're going to get a new job within a week. And I've helped a few people along the way get new jobs as part of my LinkedIn journey, get them to connect them with better people, to learn more about the profession, because the opportunities we're going to have here in the next 2 to 3 years in the profession are going to be insane. I mean, it's going to be a wild ride, but I'm looking forward to it in my position. And I think it's a great time to get into it as a student, personally.
Sometimes I wish I was like 2 years ahead in my technical journey, because I see all the opportunities coming, right? Like, I have probably 8 to 10 years worth of technical experience that I'm missing, right? That I'm going to have to fill. And maybe I can accelerate that if I work really hard and work extra hours. But sometimes I just wish I could just, snap my fingers, have all the technical knowledge, have all the knowledge that comes with going through thousands of returns, right?
Yeah.
And
let me ask you, in your mind currently as a student, as someone who's analyzing it like this, what would you do? What is it that you feel like, if you had the technical knowledge that you're saying, what would you do right now with said technical knowledge if you had it?
my dream and my goal is to help build a firm of forward-thinking students like myself.
Okay. So you would essentially have a firm, basically. You would launch a
Or
firm.
be a part of a smaller firm that I could be a partner level at, right? Like, if I can end up being a partner at the firm I'm at right now, I think that's better than starting my own thing, because all the systems are already all built out, right?
Yeah. And you're the one helping build them out yourself, which is awesome. And then and you would want to help out the students. You would want to provide the experience that you're having right now to students. And that's awesome. And I think, I think you're going to get there. I think you give Chain and another 2 to 3 years and technically, and you'll be there. And I think it's admirable, man. I mean, what you're doing is you're just kind of exposing, in a sense, the inner workings of the profession. And I think that is huge to everybody.
Well, and I think the end goal too is to get young people excited about the profession, right? That's the goal with the podcast. But I think as a partner at a firm where internships are being given and first-time offers are being given, and taking students on business development calls and even business development trips and meeting with clients, I think that would be so exciting and so cool to be able to show to students.
Yeah. One of my favorite things to do as a manager, as somebody who had more client contact, would be, hey, like, to the staff that's doing the returns, hey, come into the office and come listen to the conversation. And, I'd introduce them to the client. Hey, this is so-and-so, they're working on your returns. They're just here, by the way, just so you know, listening in and all that. It's so huge. Like, it's such simple things. And I also want to talk about what I think, we talked before about how silly pizza parties are to show a thank you. It was a big thank you to all your hard work. We've ordered pizza for you. Thanks. It's disgusting. Don't you just close the office? Just close the office half a day and let me go home. Like, that's a bigger gift to me. But I want to talk, like, to me, the lunch piece, the meal reward, if you will, is actually pretty powerful tool if you use it right. And the way you use it right is you go and every single day or maybe once a week, pick a day and take out some staff to lunch. Don't order disgusting pizza. Go to, some nice little restaurant near you. I used to do this every week, at least once. I myself would go every day. I would leave the office at lunchtime, and I don't care what anybody told me. But, a lot of times I try to get a staff with me. Why did I try to get a staff with me? So I can freaking expense it. I don't want to pay for lunch. So I want to get, like, if you bring a staff and you teach them and you mentor them on that lunch, then, then it's an expense that's allowed, and they'll reimburse you. And I did that, at least once or twice or 3 times a week. Most people would say yes to going out. And then, hey, if they denied the expense, it is what it is. I didn't care. But we would sit there and we'd talk about, like, hey, how's it going? What issues are you having? Is there anything that you want to get at? Conversations just like this, and that really is a good way to show somebody that a thank you for their hard work, or and show them that you're thinking about them and that you care. That's huge to me.
Well, and the conversation is where the value is, right? The value isn't placed on the meal.
Yes.
Whether we're arguing about sushi or pizza, I mean, the value is that they saw that their manager cared about them and took an hour of their time to talk to them and ask them about specifically what's going on with them. And if everybody did that in public accounting, I think the industry would be
Yes.
360 degrees different.
Exactly. And I think to me, it's also just, again, like when to me it was, to me the biggest thing was to leave the office. I just didn't want to be in the office for 8 to 10 hours straight. Just not interested in that. So I needed a break. It's as simple as just getting out and having a break. But again, most people, they don't want to leave. They're scared. They want to work. They want to be seen that they're at the desk. They want to do all that stuff. Nah, man, just going to take care of the people. They'll take care of you, whether you're the manager or you are the partner or you are the client or whatever it is. Take care of them first, and it all starts there. But that's the part that's missing. And I think the more we drive that home, the better it'll be.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that too. I was just thinking too, like I had some experiences going to lunch with people where it's like if I go to lunch with my manager and I'm asking them questions about their job, maybe
Yeah.
it's more like what you were saying, like don't worry so much about getting to an owner, but I should see that person one level above me and say, is that the job I actually want? Like, do I want to be doing what
Yeah.
you're doing? Like, you're telling me all these things, and I'm asking questions. Like, maybe that's not what I want. Like, maybe that's a good opportunity because I mean, as a staff, I've been able to. You can ask people to go to lunch too, is what I would say
Yeah.
to other staff too. Like,
100%.
they want to expense it. Maybe you'll have to put it out there on their calendar because they get busy, but
Yeah.
um, people are usually willing. And it's like you said, you'll get no's, but you'll get a yes too.
It has to come from both sides, right? Like managers, seniors, and all that. Those levels are busy. They're so busy, man. You like I said, you're in the middle of a crossroads between the people underneath you going up, the partners pushing down, the clients pushing from the side. So there's a lot of stuff going on. But at the end of the day, most of us have grown up in the firms, learning from people and doing exactly what a staff would do, which is ask for lunch, ask to be mentored, ask for all that. And yeah, I mean, taking them out to lunch, even done, it doesn't have to be lunch. It could just be a stop by at their cube to make sure they're doing all right and that they don't have any questions. And it doesn't have to be this like adversarial thing where, a lot of times people will be like, oh, like he's not, it's like, you're not thinking, you're not doing your own research before you come to me. Just go over there and just try to help them out, man. Like it's only going to benefit you in the long.
Yeah, we need more of a focus on the people, right? We're not just bean counters.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot more to this profession than that. And even when you get to the senior manager and partner level, you're interacting with clients every day, and you got to be able to manage expectations with them
Yeah.
and go to lunch with them and do all of the business development and sales side of accounting,
Yeah.
which it's just so sad that young accounting professionals don't even get to see that side of it until you start getting towards management. I
Yeah.
think I think that's another way we could attract more talent, is just showing them, like I already at the firm I'm at, I have a set of clients that I work with on a daily basis.
Nice.
And I get to interact with them. And everyone I talk to at the big firms is like, the clients don't even see your work or see
Oh.
your face until you are senior manager, maybe.
At least sometimes depends on the client. But yeah, if the higher profile ones, they're not seeing you until you're a senior manager or partner. They don't even know you exist. But to your point, and this is a huge thing that blew my mind as like a senior in that level. The first time that a partner brought me out to like a client meeting for lunch, it was like, hey, Yuri, we're gonna go meet this so and so client. I want to introduce you to him. And that particular partner was a very rough partner, like really rough, like like it was like yelling and all that stuff. And then he was like, hey, you want to come out with me and meet the client? And I was like, yeah, sure. The wildest part in my mind was how that partner treated me, right, and yelling and all that, to then meet the client who was completely chill. It was like what is happening? I was like, what is happening here? Why are you like, this client does not care about 99% of the stuff you were yelling at me about. That was pretty mind blowing.
It's like the football coach who screams at the team at practice, and then when they win the championship and they're in front of the school, they talk like they love the team and
Nice.
this and that. It's interesting. Yeah, it's got to go back to relationships, right? It has to if it's going to be successful. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and that is what, to me, that is what the Fun CPA is about in the whole movement, in the whole context of what I'm doing. It's showing that it could be fun. It's bringing the attention to the professionals, to the staff themselves, be more fun. And in that part of it, incorporate into that your people and making them feel like it's more fun. Like just overall, take care of your people, make the profession more fun and enjoyable. And that should be the focus to then get the profession up to where it needs to be and reduce the pipeline price.
So talk about that a little bit. You host your own networking events, which
Yes.
is like the coolest thing ever, right?
Thanks, man. Yeah, it is. It is cool. It's a lot of work.
Talk a little bit about that. How did that even start? I mean, did it just start with like you had a couple of guys and gals and you're like, hey, let's just meet up for dinner or something, and then now you guys go boating all day, hang out, and you guys got a mix of people. It's not just accountants. You got other professional service people there as well.
Yeah. So I'm going to tell you how it all started. Last year was the first one that I did. And the way it all got started was I didn't want to do work one day in like tax season last year. I was just kind of like, I was like zoning out, thinking about other stuff. And then I'm like, it'd be cool. Like, and just, this was like literally just a random thought. I'm like, really cool if I did like, just got people together to like have like a networking event that doesn't suck. That's just a random thought that came to my head. And I was like, all right, I just kind of let it go for a little bit. And then a couple of days passed and I was like, I wonder if I can make it happen. And I just started calling venues that I thought would be cool to host it at. Called around this, called around that, got some other like vendors and stuff like that I thought would be fun. And then they were like, yeah, all right, let's do it. Yeah, let's do it. And then I was like, oh, it's going to happen? Okay, now what do I do? And then I'm like, I got to invite people. So then I started like just blasting LinkedIn and hitting up people. And that was probably the hardest part, honestly, of the whole process. Arranging and making the event happen is easy to me because I enjoy that stuff. It's filling it with people that are going to want to go, want to pay the, obviously there's like a fee attached to it, and that are going to be, getting value out of it. So creating of the value for the people that are coming to be able to justify coming out, spending the time, because everybody's time is limited, and then getting something out of it. But that's how it started, man.
And now it's a party.
It's a party. But the whole concept behind it was always a party. Like the whole concept behind it in my mind was, let's make it a networking party. Like, you don't have to come here all buttoned up, dressed up with your, with your business cards and all that, ready to give them out to everybody and, have like pointless conversations and quite frankly, be ready to go home the moment you got in there. Because that's how it was for me. When I used to go to networking events, I was like, please get me out of here. I just want to go home. This is the most boring shit. But, it's like, but I wanted to create something different. So like my first event that I did was at a kind of like a beach bar. Like it was basically like by a marina. The marina happens to be where I personally do some, boating and rent boats from. And so I reached out to that bar. We arranged it, open bar. We had barbecue food there. We had the marina. Then I called them up. And I'm like, hey, listen, would you be willing to put out one of your captains and take people out on boat rides? So then we organized boat rides and had to figure out how to get 45 people in groups, which is the best kind of almost breakout sessions, right? Like icebreakers, whatever you want to call it. Go on a boat and be forced to talk to each other. And, and then we'd separate them out into groups of like 6 or 7. And then we had to figure out how to give people like the little numbers that they know what group they're all going on the boat at. It was a whole operation, man. That was the first one. But you learn. And now, now it's only growing. That's the craziest part. Now people are like, hey, when are you doing the next one? Like, I don't want to miss out on the next one. That looked like so much fun, and that part of it is growing. You think I make any money? Like the funniest thing is when people are like, oh, you must be like profiting like crazy. Dude, my first event, I came out of pocket $4,000 because I messed up in a few ways in planning it. So that was a hit. And this one I just did was a little better. I came out of pocket $2,000. But if you think I'm making money off this shit, man, I'm not even breaking even. If I broke even, I will be happy. So, it's a cost to it. It hurts, but the brand is building, and that's kind of where I, I don't know where he's going to go, to be perfectly honest. I don't even know why I'm doing it at the moment, but it seems cool, and I'm going to keep doing what seems cool.
The next thing you know, Yuri's going to have his own conference, the No Speakers Conference.
The No Speakers yeah, the only speakers are going to be rappers. That would be cool for me. If I got that, man, I'll be so down to have the Fun CPA conference, man. You just come down and you just hang out and kind of party and get to chill with people and have a unique thing. That's not a bad idea, man. I mean, I know that Randy Crabtree does the Tri-Merit one, Bridging the Gap, I think it's called. I think it's actually happening like next week.
I'm going.
Oh, you're going? Oh, hell yeah. See, that's the way to do it, man. You should go to these conferences, meet these people that you interact with on social media. It's social media, like I said, I always say this, social media doesn't have to suck. You just have to be intentional about being authentic and wanting to truly meet people and learn and all that, and not just follow this hype of stupidity that's out there.
Yep. Got to get out there.
Yep, you do. You got to get out there. That's how you learn. That's how you get to meet people. That's how you understand that the profession does not suck and that there's a lot of other people who think like you. That was, by the way, my biggest revelation from LinkedIn, which is that how I felt for 12 years of being frustrated at these firms, I thought I was the only one. And to learn that it's like a whole world out there of people who think the same way as me was probably the coolest thing. And then meeting them in person was really cool. So yeah, man.
That's what I'm pumped about.
It's gonna be awesome.
Get to meet a lot of these people in person for the first time.
I'm a little jealous, man. I wish I could go, but it's my wife's birthday, so I can't go during my wife's birthday to a conference. But definitely gonna go next year. I think I'm gonna have more conferences next year, more networking events. That's the goal, man. The goal is really, like I said, just to create an environment where people to switch the whole image of the profession, switch what people think CPAs are and accountants, and show that there's a fun side to it. Because there's a lot of fun people like us out there. There are, and just got to highlight that.
We have to if the profession's going to survive. Yep.
That's it, man.
Well, Yuri, thank you so much. You're the bomb.
Thanks, man.
Keep doing what you're doing. And yeah, can't wait to meet in person. I got to get out to one of your networking events here soon.
Yeah, man.
And we'll all keep pumping your content because we got to get it out there. We got to get it to the young people. So thank you so much for your time. And where can people find you? LinkedIn?
LinkedIn. That's where I reside. LinkedIn. Just my name, Yuri Kapilovich. That's where I do most of my content. That's where I post most of the stuff. I'm also on Instagram and all that stuff. But if you go on LinkedIn, you'll find where all my other things are. And I appreciate you guys having me on the show. Finally made it happen. And let's make it all fun, man. Let's make the profession fun.
I love it. We need to.
We do.
And with that, we'll see y'all next week.